Shalom, Apostle Tahar coming back at you once again, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kodash. And I'm going to entitle this video, "The Mind of God Should Fly a Kite." Anyway, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kodash. Now I'm going to make you understand what I just said. Gave the title, the mind of God go fly a kite. This video right here, I clicked on it was end time teacher. He usually has this guy on, and he's an Elamite. He tells you that he says that he's an Elamite. I'm listening to this video, and the more, as you can see, it's a 12-minute, 25-second video, and every minute went by, I said, "Oh boy, oh my goodness, is this guy's a bug out?" But this is what made me say, let me just do a little video on it, because he goes into he's dialoguing, not really debating. They're basically having a discussion. Deacon Hakar, I don't know this individual here, Officer Rob Yawasap, meaning Yawasap meaning he will add, you know. Anyway, so this guy calls in, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I was getting a headache listening to this guy." But he basically went into Revelation chapter 11, and what did he say? It's so confusing. What the hell did he say? He said, "Oh, the two witnesses." In Revelation, and by the way, the reason why I entitled the mind of God go fly a kite, because he tried to go back and forth with me a while back. I don't know, a year and a half ago, and he asked me a question, and anytime he asked me a question, I told him, "Why don't you go fly a kite?" That's what I think of him. He's a heathen. Anyway, come to find out, he thinks he might be an Israelite, and the deacon kind of acknowledged. He said, "Well, yeah, you could be, you know, but he's not a prophet. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You know, if you listen to him, you're gonna get confused. But I mean, he could be, could be, you know, keyword emphasis on the word could or may or may not be." Anyway, he says in Revelation, the 11th chapter, the two witnesses are the two men in white in Acts, the 1st chapter. But then he says, you got to listen to this for yourself. Please listen to this whole video, or watch this whole video. I'm 10 minutes and 30 seconds in. I'm going to try to get up. I'm going to try to throw up and come back and listen to the rest of it. But every minute that went by, I said, "Oh my goodness, this guy's a bug out." Anyway, he says the two witnesses, but then he, you know, then in the middle of his sentence, he kind of, you know, makes a left turn, sharp left turn. He goes left, as they say. And he says, that's Elijah. Like he's not sure if it's two men in white in Acts 1, or it's Elijah and Moses. And he says Revelation chapter 11 is literal. And the deacon in car said, he kind of asked him some fastball questions at him. He said, "You believe everything is literal?" They went into the 10th part of the city. He said, "What's the 10th part of the city?" He says, "America." And he said, the 7,000 died. He said, "Only 7,000 going to die in America?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Out of 350 million people, only 7,000 people are going to die." 7,000 means completion. 7 women shall take hold of 1 man. I mean, for an example, the number 7 they circled the walls of Jericho. What number comes up? 7. Where else is 7 mentioned? Well, seven normally has to do with a completion. I'm trying to think of other examples, you know, but everybody agrees with that. The number 7 pretty much represents a completion of something. 7 days, you know. You have 7 days, 7 days in a month. Where else is seven spoken about? Well, I said that the seven parts, 7,000 people died in America after that great earthquake, which represents the missiles. He doesn't understand that. Where else is 7? You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me cheat. First of all, let me bring this over. Let me just play with this number 7. Forgive your brother 70 times 7. The 70 weeks in Daniel 9. So let me type in the word 7. Bear with me for a minute. Wow, 7. It's all over the place. I'm not even going to try to look up any scriptures, but I mentioned some of the scriptures. It's the number, the word 7, or the number 7 written out is mentioned in the scriptures 463 times and 391 verses. You know what I'm gonna do? Let's go to Revelation, because it's a prophetic book. Okay, oh yeah, the 7 churches. 7 churches. That represents a completion. Seven golden candlesticks. Seven stars. Seven spirits. And unto the angel of the church of Sardis write, these things saith he that have the 7 spirits of the Most High and the 7 stars. There goes your 7. 7 lamps, 7 spirits. So what it means by the 7,000 were killed after that earthquake represents everyone that's here on the land called America will be destroyed, will die. There's no escape. There's not going to be any survivors. Oh, 7 heads. 7 heads. And the 7 angels came out of the temple. The 7 represents the last angel. What is that? Job 5:19. We got to be out of here between 6 and 7. between the sixth and the seventh trouble. Seven angels. Seven heads of seven mountains. So there you go. Got almost 500 times the number seven written out is in the scriptures. So now let me come back to him. What else? Oh, he said first he says the two men in white represent the two witnesses. Then he turns left, makes a sharp left, and he says, oh, it's talking about Moses and Elijah. Then he says that they're literally going to be put to death and they're not going to be buried. And the world is going to send gifts one to another. Now, Deacon Icard said it represents the prophets. Actually, yes, I agree with that, but it goes deep. It represents all of Israel because the gifts that they're going to be sending one to another are the Israelites in slavery. So we're going to read that. What else did he say? Oh, I want you to listen to this. I hope it comes out clear. I hope you can hear it clearly. And I said, oh boy. So let's listen.
So like you guys, like this mask stuff and all that.
This is the mind of God or the mind of Shirag. And I believe he did say it. He started listening to, he knows all the groups. He knows IUIC, GMS. He knows myself. He knows Bishop Nathaniel. He knows General Yohani. He knows everything about Israel. And he's basically saying he believes that he's one of, an Israelite. It may be. But he said he came through, he mentioned Zabak, Priest Zabak, whatever his title is. So anyway, let me bring this back 10 seconds. So this is him speaking.
Keep some things properly that you just don't keep
Okay, that's Hakar speaking. Now you're going to hear this guy in a minute.
Yeah, I agree. But that's why we say that that's right. So like you guys, like this mask stuff and all that, you guys recognize that's Job 9:24? He covered the faces of the judges thereof. I mean, and all that. You guys recognize that's Job 9:24?
You heard what he said, right? He said that the people wearing masks is fulfillment of Judges of Job 9:24. Let's read it for the ones of you that are new. Job 9:24. The earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So he's saying he covereth the faces of the judges thereof means that we had to go around wearing masks, which is totally ludicrous. And that's why I said, let me make a video on this guy. Let me let you listen to a little bit more. Let me see if okay, we're at the 10 minute 47 second mark. So we got a little bit less than 2 minutes. So let's hear some more madness. Like I said, I want you to watch this video. You're either gonna laugh or you're gonna cry. Or you're gonna throw your damn monitor on the floor with this madness. I believe he's a heathen, but let's say he's an Israelite. All right, good for him if he's an Israelite. He's not a prophet, and he brings nothing but confusion when it comes to these scriptures. So let's listen. Let's try to listen to the rest of it.
faces of the judges thereof?
I mean, I would.
You guys recognize that's Job 9:24? Cover the faces of the judges thereof.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, but I can see why you would say.
But just for people to think about, Job 9:24, 9 plus 24 is 33. I believe we're living in that time. This is a Masonic, this is a massive satanic ritual, essentially what's going on with all this. We call it coronavirus so we don't get shut down. But I believe God's telling us that that's not what we're supposed to do. And so that's why I know we're in the last days, because with the elect, wherever they are going to refuse all of that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, I was in Seattle. Sometimes we'll go and we'll have a beer or have a drink and play some pool, but the bar is closed early due to the virus. So only thing that's open is like the casinos. So they're making a ton of money right now. So we go to the casino and the security of the casino, they are stressing the fact you not only have to wear it, but it has to be covering your nose. And they tell you, they will come up to you and say, cover your nose or we're gonna kick you out. Jeez. Right. So yeah, we understand that it's definitely the end times, and yeah, Lord willing, it doesn't get better. And I know people were like, what do you mean? We hope it doesn't get better because the destruction of this place is the rise of the new kingdom, which is our kingdom. So all right, man, let me get a couple more people on, man. We'll see you around.
Thanks for your time, man. Take care.
All right, who we got now? So I'm gonna let you start this off. Let me get my meat treat.
Okay, so you heard it. Just listen to the whole thing so you can crack up. Anyway, he went into Revelation 11. We're going to blast through that since we're in the, breaking down whole chapters or interpreting whole chapters or, well, let's just go into it. Revelation 11. But like I said, watch the whole video so you can crack up, and you might want to make a response or whatever you want to do. Revelation 11 is 19 verses long. Let's go. Let's move through this quick. And it was giving me a read like unto a rod. And the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High and the altar. The temple of the Most High represents Israel. The one that measures the temple represents us, the men of the Lord. And we also represent the altar. That's in Isaiah 19. Isaiah 19. Let me open up another. Come all the way over here. Isaiah 19. Message to Egypt. Egypt. This is code for America or Babylon. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt, spiritual Egypt, speak the language of Canaan. The language of Canaan is what? Hebrew. And swear we have Hebrew names. You speak Hebrew, we open it up with, all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Kakwadash. We might say Dawada, somebody, talking to somebody online, Dawada, Shalom, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua Brakatah, Brakatum, so forth and so on. So we are speaking some form of Hebrew. And that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt. Now, don't get hung up on 5. Well, where's it exactly where it is? At Chicago, New York, LA? Don't get caught up on that. It's just a number. It's a certain number that represents the places that we are in Babylon, in spiritual Egypt. Speak the language of Canaan, Hebrew, and swear to the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. The city of destruction is this whole place, is Egypt as a whole. In that day shall there be a what? An altar to Yahweh in the midst of the land of Egypt. You know, it's not talking about ancient Egypt. Mizraim is talking about spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto Yahweh of hosts in the land of Egypt, New Egypt. For they shall cry unto Yahweh. That's what we're doing now, because of the oppressors. Now, what is that talking about? We being oppressed. That's what is it saying? Ezekiel 9:4. That cry and sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. That we were going to receive a mark. And that's not the same mark in Revelation 13. The word mark in the Hebrew in Ezekiel 9:4, the word is thawah, which means exempt from judgment. And he shall send them a savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. Who's that? The Lord. Where is the Lord going to deliver us? In Egypt. But you have the elect scattered throughout from one end of heaven to the other, but the main deliverance is going to come out of spiritual Egypt. Why? Because we have to be delivered from the missiles. So the word altar, right? It says, in that day shall there be an altar. Let's look up the word altar in the Hebrew. A pillar holds, what does a pillar do? It holds up the house, right? It holds up the structure. Mazabak. Ma meaning like from, like of or from Zabak. And Zabak meaning altar. Let me go to the root. Let me go to Zabak. What do you do at the altar? You slaughter a sacrificial animal. So Mazabak just means from sacrifice. Because ultimately, this place that we're on, this land mass, Babylon the Great, is done, but it's gigantic altar with a whole lot of prophets on it, prophesying in different parts in America and around the world. That's why they send Vocab Malone to try to stop it, to try to convince us that we're not the people. But he can't stop it. It's too powerful. Ain't nobody take that man seriously, man, at all. That's why he tries to demonize us. So what we're doing is going back to Ezekiel 37, one of my favorite chapters. We rose up, the breath was put in us. We carried the sign, and we go out and we prophesy. So we're the priests. So, if for lack of a better term, prophets, priests, was Ezra was a prophet and a priest. And after you say what you got to say on the altar, you step away from the altar, and then you have the burnt offering, which is a sacrificial animal. So when we step away from this, then comes the burnt offering, which this place, this altar, America, is going to be a burnt sacrifice to the Lord. So what we're doing here in America is a ceremonial thing. Because when the Edomites say, you don't like this country, get out of here. It's not that we don't like this country or we like this country, it's that we were put over here to condemn this place and then be taken out of the way, and for the Most High to baptize you with fire. It's just that simple. We're here for a reason. I was watching a Fopi. I watched them too, believe it or not. And you know what they're teaching now? They're teaching the fleet doctrine. We gotta go get out of here. We got to go back to Africa. Now that, I don't know if they understand the whole Charagma system, but guess what? The Charagma system is going to meet you right over there. If you understand the Charagma system. So now let's come back. So now you should understand this. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple. 1 Corinthians 3, I believe it's the 19th verse, says that we are the temple. We are the Lord's building. It says, rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar. We represent the altar and them that worship therein, the ones that come into this truth. But the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, the actual Gentiles. This is not for you. You can't come into the inner temple, the Holy of Holies. And the holy city shall be tread underfoot 42 months. You got the Gentiles over there in our land walking around, occupying our land until the times of the Gentiles is up. Till the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which is right now. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days. It represents the men of the Lord, or the prophets out there teaching, which goes back to every captivity that we were in, to every prophet that the Most High raised up during the time of the Babylonian Empire. Most High raised up Daniel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Moses during the time of Egypt, the Egyptian captivity. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Most High of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. So what did the prophets of old have? They had spiritual power. I'll give you an account of Elijah. No, it was Elisha. I'm sorry, Elisha. There was these kids. It didn't say that they were Israelite kids, but it was an area where Israelites lived. So we're going to assume that they were Israelite kids. They said, I'm paraphrasing, they said, go up, thou bald head, thou bald head. Elisha got mad, and he called, he used his spiritual power to call 2, I believe it was she-bears, and they tore 42 of those kids up. And I believe that High Priest Ariah could very well be Elisha, because he was very close to Abba being Elijah. And if you knew Ariah had a quick temper. He had a short fuse. If you said the wrong thing to him, he's ready to fight you for real. we remember that. Basically, kind of stay away when Ariah get mad. You stay away from him. You say, up, stay away from him. He's about to tear shit up. He had a wild side to him. It says, and if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed through spiritual power. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And that's why the man said he also believes it's Elijah, because that's Elijah. During the time of Elijah, there was a point of time where it didn't rain, and have power over waters to turn them into blood. He mentioned he believes it's Moses, because Moses turned the sea in Egypt into blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. 7th verse. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them. the beast out of the bottomless pit didn't make war against the two witnesses. He made war against Israel. When he came to Americas, the first one he made, the first group of Israelites he made war with was the so-called the Northern Kingdom. And then he went over and got the Southern Kingdom and brought them to the Western Hemisphere. So that represents all of Israel. And when they shall have finished their testimony, so to finish their testimony represents the prophets, but to go even further, it represents Israel. But starting with the elect, starting with the prophets. The beast, we know who the beast is that ascended out of the bottomless pit. So what time period is this talking about? It's talking about the time period of Christopher Columbus in 1492. You got to read Revelation 20. Pit, I shall make war against them. War against who? Did Christopher Columbus come over here? So where's these two guys at? Or did he just go after the prophets? Are you a prophet of the Lord? No, he went after all Israelites. So in a wider sense, this is talking about Israel. And shall overcome them and kill them. And what did they do? They overcame us and killed a lot of us and enslaved a lot of us. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. The great city is Babylon the Great. And what is meant by the dead bodies? Meaning they're dead mentally, spiritually, morally, but they're physically alive, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Sodom, you know what happened in Sodom. You know what Sodom is famous for. And Egypt. This is a new Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now, our Lord was crucified in the so-called land of Israel, Palestine. But so we know it's not we know that Sodom and Egypt is not Jerusalem, it's not Israel. It's America. When you cross out something, you take it out of the person's mind, which is the image of our Lord. That's all. That's in Hosea. What is that? The 3rd chapter, around about the 5th verse. It says, where also our Lord was crucified, and they, the people in the kindred and tongues and nations, shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. So they've been looking at our dead bodies, meaning we're spiritually dead. We're not connected to the Most High. We don't know that we're Israelites. So we're just out there. But guess what? There was a shaking and the bones came together. So now we're saying we're the Israelites in these nations, mainly Esau, the small hats, they got a problem with it. We are those people, vocab. We are the Israelites. It says, 9th verse again, and they are the people in kindreds and tongues and nations, with an S, plural, shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their bodies to be put in the grave, because we're not physically dead. We're dead to the fact that we don't know who we are. When a body's dead for a long period of time, the flesh decomposes, and all you're left with is bones. You know, there's no life. When your body decomposes, there's no way of bringing back that life other than a miracle. So, you know, when you're going through Revelation 11, you got to think of Ezekiel chapter 37. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another. What is that talking about? They're going to be happy that we're taken down. And now they can be on the top, because anytime the Most High is with us, we're put on the top. And again, we were the gifts. We went back and forth into slavery, because these two witnesses, which represent the prophets and ultimately represents all of Israel, but first and foremost, the prophets, the elect, tormented them that dwelt upon the earth. Because now when we go out there and we speak, we're tormenting these people. They're losing sleep over the fact that we're telling them that they're going into captivity. Give me a second. '11 verse. And after 3 days and a half, which represent 350 years from us, the bulk of the slaves coming over here in 1619, 1619, 1620 to 1970. You had Abba on the scene, you had High Priest Ariah, you had King Mashal, Yaikwab, which Abba came out of the commandment keepers. And that group, they all were following, they were all Old Testament. You see, these Old Testament Israelites, well, they stem from those other groups. Abba was the one that went into the New Testament. 11 verse. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Father entered into them, Ezekiel 37, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So they're fearful now. What if it happens? They keep saying we're going into captivity. What if it's true? What if they are the Hebrew Israelites? Now, when I read this verse right here, and it said, and stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them, what does it say in Ezekiel 37? I believe it's the 10th verse. It said they were as a great army. They stood as a great, I'm merely paraphrasing. I'm not going to go to it. Somebody can put it in the comment section if they want. It says 12th verse, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up. The great voice didn't say come up hither, and two guys just flew up. And it wasn't just the prophets. It's the elect. And because you're going to have women that are part of the elect. You're going to have babies, little boys and little girls that are part of the elect, which for the most part are kin or family to the actual elect, the men that are of the elect. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Who are the enemies? Go to Psalms, 83. Esau is number one on the list, because they're not going to make it in the ship. And it says in a cloud. You're going to have many ships, but the main ship is the one that Yahweh Shai is going to be in. And I believe, well, based upon this, it says a cloud. We went into a cloud. We're going to be beamed up into one ship. The other ships that the angels are flying, they're going to be attacking things. You might say, well, there's not enough room for all them people. Look, when Ezra, the prophet Ezra, saw the Lord, he thought it was a mountain. Don't you know they got a mountain retreat out there in Colorado? And they say Cheyenne Mountain Retreat, I think it's called. It's a big bunker, but they dug into a mountain. Do you know how many people can go in there? Over 1 million people. So you mean to tell me the Lord can't deliver up in one ship 1 million people? There's a video of I don't know if it's a hoax, I don't know if it's real, that somebody, the International Space Station caught a picture of a ship so big that it was measured at three and a half thousand miles in diameter. That's almost the whole country of America. So how many people live in America? About 330 to 350 million people. So the Lord can bring down a ship that can deliver 300 million people, because these ships expand and contract. They disappear and they reappear. It says, and they, the who, not the two witnesses, the elect of Israel, and they ascended up to heaven in a singular cloud, and their enemies, the other nations, beheld them. And this is getting ready to happen. That's why you got to take this truth seriously. We're in the home stretch. In the same hour was there a great earthquake. And what is an earthquake? The earthquake is going to take place because of the missiles pelting the earth. Isaiah 24, earth is going to reel back and forth like a drunkard. And the 10th part of the city fell, which represent America. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. These missiles are going to destroy this whole landmass. So the 7,000 represent everyone that's on this landmass. And it says men, so ain't no woman going to die. And when it says slain of men, 7,000, meaning men are going to die, women are going to die, babies are going to die, pregnant women are going to die, animals are going to die. Just read Isaiah 34. Talks about bullocks and sacrificial animals. And the remnant were frighted, which is us, and gave glory to the Most High heaven, because we're going to look down. Only with thine eyes shalt thou look and behold the reward of the wicked. Psalms 91. The second one, woe is past, World War II, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. The third, and they're talking about that right now with this whole Russian thing, Russia-Ukraine thing. The fact that Joe Biden ordered troops to be stationed over there in Poland, which touches Ukraine. And they said there's going to be a permanent presence over there. Those motherfuckers ain't coming back. We're almost finished. The seventh trumpet, the Messiah's reign foreseen. 15th verse. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord. Because the kingdom of this world is talking about what? You go back to Daniel 7. Go back to Daniel 2. The first kingdom was the head of gold. The second kingdom was the breast and the shoulder area, which was the Medo-Persians. So those are all those kingdoms that's going to be transferred to the Messiah. And we're joint heirs with the Messiah. So whatever the Messiah get, we going to get. It says, the kingdom of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 4 and 20 elders which sat before the Most High on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped the Most High, saying, we give thee thanks, O Yahweh, the Most High Almighty, which art and was and art to come. Now that means the word Yahweh means he is. Loosely translated means art, was, and are to come, meaning you go in the future, the Lord's going to be there. You go in the past, the Lord's going to be there. You go into hell, you make it better in hell, the Lord's going to be there. The word Yahweh, the name Yahweh, simply means he is or he be. It says which art and was and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. 18th verse. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, mainly the prophets, and to the saints, the rest of Israel, starting with the elect, and them that fear thy name, small Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, small and great, and should have destroyed them which destroyed the earth. Esau's going to be destroyed, utterly destroyed. Obadiah 1 verse 18, last verse. And the temple of the Most High was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testimony, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hell. Great hell. Let me take that word hell. H-A-I-L. This precept come to mind, Revelation 16, verse 21, and there fell upon men a great hell. A great hell represents missiles out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blaspheme the Most High because of the plague of the hell, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. And that hell represents the missiles, the ICBM missiles, the hypersonic missiles. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. That's another breakdown.